Morning. Welcome to our April webinar on family math. We will be here this morning talking about how to get your family involved in your child's learning about math all around your home, your community, and your neighborhood. We're joined here this morning by Holly Crater, the director for the Center of Family Math at the National Association of Family, School, and Community Engagement, NAFSCE, and her colleague, Donna Johnson, Assistant Director of School Support Services at the Erickson Institute. My name is Dr. Lanisha Makel-Ridley. I am the co-director of the New Jersey Family Engagement Hub, and here joining me this morning is Kim Rivers.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kim Rivers, and I am the training coordinator for our New Jersey Family Engagement Hub. I am a mother of three, and I've certainly had many years of dealing with math and trying to find ways to make math accessible for my kids. So I thank you all for joining us, and I'm going to pass it over now to Tara.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm Tara Semanik. I am the Southern Regional Family Engagement Specialist for the New Jersey Family Engagement Hub. And I think it's terrific that we're having this event today because this Thursday is my son's elementary school family math night. So we're really looking forward to it. I'm going to pass it to Faith. Oh, I'm sorry, to Jamie.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jamie. I am the Central Regional Family Engagement Specialist. I am a mother of a 4-year-old who really enjoys math, and I'm really excited to be here and looking forward to all the tips and tricks. I'm going to pass it over to Faith.
Thank you, Jamie. Good morning, everyone. My name is Faith Victor. I am Northern Regional Family Engagement Specialist, and I have quite a history with math, but I'll say that my relationship with math is now being healed, and we're working together, not against each other. And thank you for having us. And Alexis?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alexis Pratt. I'm the Community Engagement Specialist, and I hope you all enjoy today's webinar.
So just to tell you a little bit about the New Jersey Family Engagement Hub, we are a centralized information hub about family engagement. We bring together educators, families, and community-based organizations to work together around family engagement. We create collaborations and build bridges between those different groups so that our children in our schools within New Jersey are better for building their student success. We do all of this by having in-person workshops, online webinars, and we provide tools and strategies for families, youth, community organizations, and educators to work better together by empowering our youth voice, by empowering our families, and by empowering our educators so that they can learn the things that they need to make sure that our students are succeeding in their education. And now I'll turn it over to Kim.
Thank you, Lanisha. So I want to share a little bit about our organization, SPAN. SPAN is the parent center for the state of New Jersey. We provide information, technical assistance, we have resources and supports for families. Our mission is to empower and support families and inform and involve anyone, including professionals who are interested in the healthy development and education of children and youth. We have about 45 programs that cover everything from education, health, mental health, human services, childcare, child welfare, juvenile justice. We extend to over 40 national, regional, and local programs, and we're funded by government agencies, foundations, and fee-for-service contracts. So if you want to know more about our organization, please join www.spanadvocacy.org. And now I'm going to pass it over to Ms. Holly Krieger and Donna Johnson to do our presentation on family math. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Lanisha. Thanks to the whole fantastic team at SPAN and the New Jersey Family Engagement Hub. Donna and I are so delighted to be here to talk to you today about family math and making it easy because math has a lot of baggage, as we all know, and people have different feelings about it. But we hope by the end of our conversation today that that you're all jazzed to think about math in a broad way and think about how fun and powerful it can be. Next slide. Let's see. So. I'm Holly Kreider, and as Lanisha said, I direct the Center for Family and Math at NAFSCE, the National Association for Family, School, and Community Engagement. And I'm joined here by my colleague, Donna. Donna, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Donna Johnson, the Assistant Director of School Supports for the Early Math Collaborative. And just a little bit about myself, I am a mother of 5 girls, the grandmother of 7, and I've had I think, a good experience with math, but have learned a lot after becoming an adult about how much I thought I knew, but really didn't know. So we might get a chance to unpack some of that as we go through our conversation today.
Thank you, Donna. I really appreciated how the SPAN team talked a little bit about their math feelings and background too, and their role as parents and caregivers. I'm a mom of 2 daughters who are in their 20s now, and I'm also the daughter of a CPA and the sister of a CPA, and so that informs my attitudes towards math. Next slide, please. And actually, I would encourage people, we'd be interested in knowing who's in the room, and maybe in the chat you could say who you are, where you're from. You could even throw in an emoji about how you feel about math. That would be really interesting and informative. So Don and I have this really neat Venn diagram. This is another math symbol, isn't it? To kind of represent our 2 organizations coming together to co-lead the Center for Family Math. At NAFSCE, we're all in the business of family engagement and children's development and education, and really trying to advance high impact policies and practices in family, school, and community engagement, to promote child development and improve student achievement. And at Erickson, where Donna works, they're really about transforming the understanding and teaching and learning of early mathematics from the ground up. And so you get this intersectional work where at the Center for Family Math, we're really trying to amplify both the power and the joy of math through family and community engagement to create, to create a world where family math helps to advance equity and learning for each and every child. So that's our overarching goal in our partnership. Next slide. And then our goals for our short time with you today are really to help you kind of wrap your head around what we mean by family math, what it means to engage families in kids' math learning, why it's important, leave with some concrete ideas that you can try out, and to be connected to resources and to us as resources to support you in doing more around this in the future. Next slide. All right, so we want to start out with a little activity here. And it's a very simple question, Donna. I borrowed this from Donna and her colleague Jennifer. And the question to you with this box of donuts is how many? Maybe you could put in the chat what your first thought is, or your most unusual thought to the question. What answer would you put in there to the question how many when you look at that photo right there? Anybody have any? I like it. A dozen. Well, that's like 12. Okay. Any other answers to how many? Anybody else see different answers? I'll tell you right now, I already see some interesting math being contrasted here.
And I was going to say, Holly, I really encourage everyone to, we see the dozen donuts, but let's think about being a little
here we are.
precise.
Yeah, we're starting to see some patterns here, right? So first of all, we have the number 12, and that's just, and we can do that by counting all of the donuts inside of that box, 1 through 12. We also see the word a dozen, which is a unit of measurement, right? 12 equals 1 dozen, especially in baker's terms, or sometimes there's something called a baker's dozen, which is actually 13. That's a different unit of measurement. I also see Tara says 3 chocolate. Does anybody else see? So that's kind of identifying a pattern, ones that are chocolate and ones that are not. And we call that kind of, there's a grouping or in sets that we can think about in math terms also. There are other ways. One of my favorite answers to this question is like thousands and thousands of calories, which is another way of looking at it. But what this 7 with holes, thank you, Donna. That's right. So we can think about all kinds of patterns. We can think about shapes. We can think about the total mass or the size. We can think about color, frosting, no frosting, filling, no filling, lots of different ways to sort of group what we see in front of us. And that is part of what math is about. It's about detecting patterns, using data, making sense of the world around us. And a lot of thinking around math, sort of, when you first think of math, you think about counting and numbers, but there's lots of other things that represent math in the broadest sense. So that's sort of our exercise too. And I have a feeling if we left this photo up for a little bit longer, we would have even more answers that are different. So thank you for indulging me on that. Who doesn't love donuts? Okay, next slide. So why is math important? Math, especially in the early years, it turns out, is tremendously important, both for kids' academic success, as well as for advancing sort of access to advanced classes in high school and access to college. And it really offers these 21st century skills and, and sort of an access again to even to STEM careers and to adult quality of life. And I can get in a little bit more into that with the next slide. There we go. So in terms of why math is important and what it does for kids, like if we care about kids' long-term academic success, we should pay attention to math, especially in the early years. Did you know that at kindergarten, oh, this is an animated slide, so maybe you could click 1. You might be able to predict that if you click on that slide, some things will start to happen. See if that works. Yes. This probably doesn't surprise you that reading skills at the beginning of kindergarten predict later reading achievement. Now, what would you predict early math skills lead to? Let's click and find out. Math skills at the beginning of kindergarten predict 3rd and 8th grade math. Not surprising. One more click. Also the case that math skills at kindergarten entry are one of the strongest predictors of 8th grade reading achievement, as much or more so than early reading skills. How's that for mind-blowing? If you care about kids' 8th grade literacy, you should pay attention to math in kindergarten. This is from a really rigorous study by Greg Duncan and colleagues, and it's really what converted me to being a math believer. There's lots of other research on why math matters. Another one that just came out this year from Brookings Institute shows that elementary school math is, again, one of the strongest predictors of adult earnings, especially for girls. It's a stronger predictor than health, peer relationships, literacy. We're not trying to compare because all these things are important. But my point is really that there's lots of research that shows that math in early childhood and elementary grades really has long-term impact for kids' learning and life outcomes. Okay, so I'll stop harping on that and we can go to the next slide. And it turns out that if we're really trying to encourage math learning among kids, we should pay attention to families because families are a big part of influencing kids' math learning, not surprisingly. And there's this really nice review in 2020 by Sarah Eason and colleagues that really shows there are kind of 4 things. There's probably more, but there are 4 important things that we know from research that families can do to help promote their kids' math learning. One is to have high but reasonable expectations for their kids' math learning. Another is to be just generally involved with their kids' school and teachers. A third is to use math talk at home. That could be a lot of different things, right? That could be when you're reading a storybook or when you're playing games or when you're doing household chores. Lots of ways that math talk can come into the picture. And it's about also math interaction. That can be, again, through puzzles, games, stories, all those things where where you start to kind of interact around math. Um, and all of those things can lead to math confidence, math skills, longer term math outcomes. So families are definitely an important ingredient in supporting kids' math learning. All right, next slide. So I saw, thank you, Jamie B, for putting some very good emojis about, well, mostly very positive emojis about how you feel about math, heart eyes and goofy smiley face, but also a maybe a questioning or confused face. And we there's all these ideas floating around about math, that maybe it's not something that is for everybody, or it doesn't start until kids get into like middle school, really. That it's really just about numbers and nothing else. Maybe that it's kind of like these symbols on a page that don't really mean anything to anybody, that it's really just for school and nothing else, and that we're not going to use it later in life anyway. So I'm going to pass things over to Donna to debunk all of those myths for us. Good luck, Donna.
Okay, well, we'll give it a try, Holly.
Okay.
So, I think that first myth that there's like a math gene, that only some people are good at math, is not true. All of us engage in mathematical thinking. Whether we're organizing, if we're packing a car up, if you're putting groceries in the bag, if you're cooking, all of that is mathematical thinking. And sometimes we have a very narrow view of what math is. Like Holly said, we think about it as just being numbers. And when we have that very limited view of knowledge of what math is, we don't see ourselves as fitting into that math mold. But we all do math. We all have varying levels of comfortability and confidence with it. And I think sometimes that's why we might not see ourselves as a math person, or that math is not for me. This idea that math can wait is definitely a myth. It starts early in life. At the very youngest of ages, children are making sense of this world, and that involves logical mathematical thinking. Young children, babies fresh out of the womb, are sorting. They're thinking, they're making decisions about what they can suck, that gives nourishment, satisfaction, and what they can't suck. They're expressing preferences. As children get older, they're noticing attributes, sensory attributes, smell, what they see, what they touch, what they taste. So at those very youngest of ages, they're engaging in some of these precursor ideas to mathematical thinking. And so by the time they're in preschool, their minds are ready for all kinds of non-numerical math, because math is still very abstract. If you talk to 3, 4, even 5-year-olds, their concept of quantity is still developing, but there's all kinds of math that they're experiencing, whether it's sorting, whether it's measurement, whether it's shape and spatial relationships. We live in a 3D world, so children are navigating space all the time. So it's there, and those opportunities are there. Like I said, more than just numbers. And then this idea that that math is culture neutral. Well, we live in a mathematical world. It's all around us, and we live in a culture. So the context and the culture that we live in impacts the math and how we see it. And we'll talk a little bit later just about how important it is to see your culture reflected in math. That also communicates this idea: do I have a space at the math table? Math is a part of our everyday life. I talked about some of that. We see it all the time. When you put dishes away if you put them away into a drawer, a dish, your utensils in a dish drawer, in a drawer in your kitchen cabinet, you're probably sorting, because you might just dump all the utensils in one spot, and that's okay. But some of us might want to organize them. So we put the knives together, we put the forks together, we put the spoons together. And some of us get really frustrated when they get mixed up, because it's like, wait a second, I had a structure and an order. That's mathematical thinking. If you put your groceries in certain places, you don't put the milk in the kitchen cabinet, right? Unless it's stable milk that doesn't need to be refrigerated, because the attributes of the milk are that it needs to go into the refrigerator. Frozen vegetables needs to go into a freezer because of those attributes associated with that frozen vegetable. That's math. And so as you're putting things in those places, that's mathematical thinking. So it's a part of our everyday life, but do we, and because of that, it's useful, but do we see those opportunities? Do we recognize those as mathematical opportunities? And do we have conversations with our children about some of those opportunities? And that gets us to our, so as we think about some of these math myths, I just want to challenge all of us that math is for everyone. And even if you come to this space and the spaces that you operate in with math baggage, some of the folks on the call said that they were recovering, they were being healed from those negative math experiences. And we can all move from having a negative relationship with math to a more positive relationship with math. All right, so we want to keep that in mind and just think about family math. So if we go to the next slide, the first thing, family math is about relationships. And I want to step back just a little bit and say math is about relationships. If we think about numbers, it's the relationship between numbers. If we think about shape, we think about what makes a shape a shape. So it's about those relationships, those within the math. But family math is about relationships. How are we as a family talking about math? Do we have any conversations about math? And I don't mean the kind of math like, did you solve the problem right for your homework? Or did you get this right answer? I was thinking about when we were doing the donut photo, looking at that. And I just wondered if we were thinking, what's the right answer? I want to make sure I put the right answer in. Okay, it's 12. So we're done. But when we think about, wait a second, let's open that conversation up. What are some other things we notice? What are some other things that we talk about? And so how we can talk about math as a family, going beyond numbers, when we're pouring something to drink, in 2 different cups, which cup has more? Which cup has less? Which cup can hold more? So just opportunities to have a conversation about math. I think just recognizing that different families engage with math in different ways. Different cultures have different ways of engaging in problem solving. And so just acknowledging that as a positive, because that builds flexibility. I think about some of the algorithms that we use to solve math problems, the rules we have for solving an addition problem or solving a multiplication problem. Going beyond just following the rules and the procedure to understanding why that math works will help us to appreciate how in other cultures that same math problem is solved a different way. You get the same answer, okay? But because we understand that the algorithm is kind of a shortcut, but when we understand the math that is undergirding both of those shortcuts, we can appreciate how different cultures bring different ways of problem solving to the table. And so seeing the family as a resource for learning, that it doesn't, math learning doesn't just happen at school. It doesn't just happen with the people who are quote unquote good at math. that when we run into a problem that's challenging, that this is an opportunity for us to learn together. And so seeing math in a the value of it in the social context is so important. Let's go to the next slide. So we think about that whole idea that family math is about relationships, but also that it's cultural and community based. Do we see opportunities for math in our community? Are there opportunities to engage in math in our community? So think about where might be a place. So I'm going to ask you guys, where might be a place in our community where we might engage in math? The supermarket? The library? Yeah. And these are places that, I mean, we're going to get groceries all the time. So this is a great opportunity to engage in math and not just numbers. I mean, we might think about, okay, we've got so much money to spend, and what are we going to get with that money? But also, how much are we going to get? Which box of cereal, which size cereal is a better value? If we think about older children, if we think about opportunities for younger children, how many, can you grab me 3 cans of tuna? You know, so many ways to engage with children at all ages in the communities around math. Opportunities to really create and cultivate their critical thinking. I love the supermarket as a place because, and maybe intentionally, you go in with cash. Sometimes it's so easy to swipe, we don't think about it. But if you go in with cash, it forces all of us to think about how much do we have, when have we overspent, and so making some of those critical decisions of how much do we buy, how many do we buy, and when are we over. So just moving from swiping a debit card or a credit card to paying with cash is a great way to help children really think about ideas of quantity, ideas of numbers, and just to have that experience of thinking critically about the math. And it can be a safe space. You know, there's no grade that's being issued for the math learning that we're doing in the community. Then there's no grade being issued in the math learning that we're doing in the family, as long as we're reminding ourselves of this next slide. And that's that family math is active, joyous, and fun. And I think if I asked everybody in your math learning at school, would you associate math and fun together? Many of us would not. And I know for me, I love math. I've always loved math, but I never experienced it as a joyous experience. You know, you learn the facts, you solve the problems. I happen to be good at them, but there wasn't a sense of joy and wonder and curiosity. And it wasn't until I became an adult and started working with teachers and young children around these foundational ideas about math that I realized that math could be fun, that there was a joy, that there's curiosity, and this whole idea that math is all around us. I didn't realize that until I became an adult. So even though I had a positive experience with math, it wasn't a rich experience with math. And so that's what we want to have for our children of all ages, a rich experience with math, that they see it as something that they're actively engaged in. It's not a paper and pencil task. You know, math is not just something you do on paper and pencil. It's something you're actively engaged in, that there's fun associated with it, and that there's this social experience. The conversation that happens around math deepens our understanding. It challenges our thinking about these math ideas. It hopefully makes us wonder. If we had had time to spend more on that donut photo and really unpack it, I think we might have had more opportunities to notice how many in different ways. And so as we think about household tasks, opportunities for math, whether it's laundry, you've got to sort. You think about how do you do laundry? You take the dirty clothes, this huge pile, and you sort them. And there's some organizational structure that you're using to sort. So you're using a rule, a schema, and that's mathematical thinking. Maybe you put all the towels together. Maybe you're sorting by color. Maybe you're sorting by weight. Maybe you're sorting because some of them are more fragile, and so you have to wash them differently. But there is a schema that you're bringing to that washing experience. And when you do the laundry and you bring them out, you're using a different schema because now it doesn't matter the weight of or the color. Now you're sorting them by where they belong or who they belong to. So all of these ideas are mathematical in nature. And the last thing I want to bring up when we talk about joy and fun is games. Games are a great way for children to practice math skills, to develop strategy, to develop critical thinking in a very safe environment, even though that competition can be kind of ruthless. But if it's done in fun, that's a way to motivate children not to give up, to persevere, to think about the strategy, because again, they want to win over their sibling the next time they play. And because they enjoy it and they want to play it over and over again, that repetition is a great way to strengthen those foundational math skills. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Thank you. So, some takeaways for educators, just understanding the importance of families, the important role they have in their children's lives, the important role that needs to be established between you and them, so that that there's a strong relationship between educators and between families. And I know we talk about family math nights as a great way, and that is a great way. But I would say let's think about some ongoing experiences that connect families and educators. So sending home instructions is another great way. But let's think about ways that acknowledge and recognize that families have things to contribute to the classroom as well. So how do we build that relationship? Okay, next takeaway. Takeaway for parents and caregivers. We can go to the next slide. Just understanding that math is all around us. It's a part of everybody's life. And so we need to recognize if we've got math baggage, recognize that, acknowledge it, but then think about how can we help support children so they don't have that math baggage. So the words that we use when we talk about math, we need to be careful. So that we're not saying, oh, whatever it is, I don't like math. Math is hard, but just say, there's a lot we can learn from math, and really think about what's some joyful language, what's some positive language that we can bring when we're having conversations around our children or with our children about math. Okay. Another takeaway. If we go to the next slide. And this one is for organizations, community-based organizations that are working with families. How can you make math a part of your work? And I know sometimes it can feel intimidating, but first of all, just challenging the attitude that math is not for me, embracing the attitude that math is for everyone and that math is fun. And so creating a safe space where children can engage in math, whether it's through games, whether it's through activities, helping them to see how math can impact their community, can have a positive impact on the community. If there's some sort of project that you're doing, what are the math opportunities to talk about with children? How can we draw them in to those experiences so that it's not something that's done in isolation? So how do we, just open that space up for children to engage in math in the community? And I think our last takeaway for children is that math, I'd say there's a whole list of things, but my first one is that math is fun, that math is for you. You are a math person and you can do math. Math mistakes are expected, okay? So we should respect them and we should inspect them. So ask questions when you don't understand. Ask for help. Form a buddy group. See math as a social experience that we learn from one another as we talk about math. And engage with math with other people, whether it's those people who are older than you, people who are younger than you. Games are a great way to, again, just build those skills, those competencies that you need in math. And they're games at all levels and all ages that children can engage in. So hopefully that has been helpful as we think about some of the ways that we can engage in math and things that we can do as we think about making math a more positive part of our experience. So I'm going to pass it back to you, Holly.
Thanks, Donna. So much there. Every time I listen to you, I get reminded about all of what math is and how exciting it can be. Well, we just invite everybody on this webinar to just digest all of what Donna has shared and to think for yourselves about one thing that you could do to engage families in their children's math learning, whether that's you as a parent caregiver, you as a youth or community-based organization, or an educator. Is there something in there that really resonated with you that you could try out? Or maybe something you're already doing that you can amp up a little bit. If you want to share that in the chat, we would welcome it, and it could be something to encourage others who are listening as well. I do want to sort of pause here too, next slide, and also invite any questions or reactions or responses people have in general to the information and recommendations that we've shared. We are here, and we have a little bit of time left to be in conversation with all of you. And if anyone has questions, we invite them. Oh, and we like emojis too. Absolutely. We like positive emojis, not just like confused emojis about math. We know we've done something right if your feelings about math are shifting even a little bit. I also, while we wait for anything else to come in on the chat, both in terms of some things you think you might be able to do after listening to the webinar today, as well as any questions that you might have for Donna or me, I want to just invite you to check out other resources on this topic. Could we move on to the next slide? We have, next slide, please. There's a couple of places we want to encourage you to check out. One is the Center for Family Math's website, which is easy. It's just familymath.org. And there is a whole online searchable database of resources for families and for educators and other professionals who work with families, all in support of family engagement in children's math learning. A lot of bilingual resources, just you name it, lots of good stuff there. That was all vetted not just by Donna and her team at Erickson for their accuracy and quality of math content, but also by our parent leaders who were really looking to see that we curated resources that were engaging and inclusive and accessible for families themselves. So check out familymath.org. And especially our practice practice tab. And then I'd also encourage you to go to earlymath.erickson.edu, which is the institution that Donna's affiliated with. There are a lot of really great videos, for example, lots of ideas around games and storybooks and all sorts of goodies that you can dip into that are resources. The other thing. Oh, thank you, Chair, for putting the hyperlink into the chat as well. The other thing, we have a lot of other good opportunities coming up in our partnership with SPAN and your New Jersey Family Engagement Hub, and I want to share what those are, as well as some other things that are happening at NAFSCE that relate to family math, so that you all can avail yourselves of those if you like. Could you advance the slides a little bit? So this is something very special. We did this with the State Family Engagement Center in Maine, and we're delighted to evolve it and bring the new and improved family math community of practice to New Jersey this fall. You can see a QR code where you can express your interest, and we will follow up with exact dates and times in a few months, but we just wanted to really put that out there today to anybody who is a practitioner who would be interested in kind of delving in a little bit more deeply into what family engagement practice might look like for you. And again, it's that sort of learning from peers and exploring this topic more deeply together. It's 4 90-minute sessions. It will be led by my amazing colleague, Dr. Maggie Casp, who is, a family math expert in so many different ways. So we encourage you to scan that QR code and let us know if you're interested. And we're delighted to have you. One other great thing that we are doing in partnership with SPAN is hosting 2 additional webinars. So today was just sort of a little bit of a taste, a little teaser into the world of family math, but we want to break it down for you more. So if you are a parent, caregiver of a preschooler or an elementary age student, or if you are a teacher in an elementary school classroom or a preschool classroom, or work with that age group in any other capacity, then this webinar next month on May 21st is for you. We're going to really kind of break it down, like what does family math look like in early childhood and in elementary school. In early September, for back to school, we're going to focus more on middle and high school family math. Totally different set of issues and strategies, but also math in middle school is a game changer, right? That is really a turning point for kids in access to advanced math and to college and STEM careers. And we really want to help families know how to navigate those adolescent years together around math. Adolescence and math, 2 tricky subjects, all in one webinar on September 3rd. So we invite you to, just stay in touch with the New Jersey Family Engagement Hub for more information on how to register for those. So we're really excited to do those together. And just a few other little goodies. Next slide. So NAFSCE, National Association for Family, School, and Community Engagement, is having its national conference. We call it the National Assembly for Family Engagement and Education in October this year. And it's going to be in New Orleans. And there will be a lot of math sessions there. So we invite you all to check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll also be doing a couple days of virtual sessions too, where the math will definitely be featured. So invite you all to check that out. And what else do we have here? I feel like there might be one more slide to encourage you all to join, to become members of NAFSCE. You can, again, just scan the QR code, easy peasy, and decide if becoming a member is for you. So we invite you all to consider joining for access to even more resources. So I think that's it for us, SPAN team. I just want to thank everybody for your engagement and your attention today, and for being open to thinking about math and family engagement in math. It's been a delight for Donna and I. And I'll pass it back over to the SPAN team.
Thank you, Holly and Donna, so much. I'm one of those people who fear math. And Holly and I had this extensive conversation when we first decided to partner with her team. And I have a child who loves math, who loves science, and I'm one of the moms is like, no, no. So this is especially important for me. And I hope that everyone enjoyed today's webinar. And as Holly already said, we're going to have some more where we're talking more to our early education families and educators and community organizations and those who specialize in middle and high school. We're going to have a webinar for you. So we hope that you will join us for those. We have next month on May 13th are Empowering Family Strategies for Family Creating Family-Friendly Environments. So we want you guys to come and hang out with us on May 13th and learn some more about creating that family-friendly environment within your home, your school, your library, wherever you are, because that is so important to have a safe space for families, for students, for youth to feel comfortable and learn. You know I curl up in a chair and I read my book and I have my throw blanket, and that is my safe space. So I think that's important if you want your children to succeed, to have some place for them to feel comfortable in. And then we want to thank you. We want to thank you for coming out and listening to us and learning from us and learning with us. And we're learning from you as well. And so we need you to tell us how you feel about these webinars. So scan the QR code or use the link in the chat and fill out our survey. We use that survey to make improvements on our programs and our services. And once you get the link to the survey and complete it, you will get access to the tools and tips and strategies that are housed in our activities folder. So please, please, please take the time and complete the survey. If you need a certificate of participation for this webinar, choose yes or no when you're filling out that survey, and Alexis will get that certificate of participation over to you. Now, we want you to follow us. We want you to follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. We want you to subscribe to our newsletter. We just put out our first New Jersey Family Engagement Hub newsletter. Please subscribe to that newsletter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are here for you. And so thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar, and we hope to see you back here on May 13th. Have a great rest of your